We're live.
Whoa.
You look so pretty. Okay. And now I can't see anybody on my Facebook because the camera's better that way. Because otherwise it's when you view the video, it's back to front, and I'm sitting there and you're sitting here, and it's weird. But thank you for coming, everybody who's starting to come in. These are your followers.
Yeah.
This is Olivia O'Driscoll.
Hi.
And hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to my Go-Sees show, the purpose of which is to talk with models about their life, their careers, and to show that we are all human beings, really, at the end of the day, and not...
Who sweat in the heat of New York.
and who are not just two-dimensional, beautiful images. So where did you come from, and who did you come from? In other words, who were your parents? Where were you born?
I was born in Auckland, New Zealand.
Uh-huh.
And
It's a beautiful place.
It's all right.
It's on the water.
Yeah.
Lots of rich people live there now.
Lots of green, lots of sheep.
The 1%ers have gone there en masse in the last 10 years. And apparently the real estate there is really, really expensive now because of it. Was that the case when you were growing up?
No, I don't think.
What did your mum and dad do?
My parents were actually super young. My mom had me when she was 16 years old.
Okay.
My father was 20.
What did they do? Do you remember?
My mum was in high school.
She was at school. Of course she was.
Yeah. So I grew up with my mother and my grandparents.
Okay. Them doing sort of helping out. Double duty?
Yeah. So my parents didn't actually stay together. So
Because they were too young?
they were very young. Yeah.
Far too young?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old was your dad? Was he a teenager too at school?
He was about 20, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So my grandfather, Brian O'Driscoll, actually was kind of like my father. Yeah.
Of Irish descent?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Of course. That's why I love my whiskey.
So how did you grow up then? You had very strong grandparents raising you with your mum there as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mum kind of, she went through her transitions of jobs and finding herself. She's like kind of found her groove now, really come into her own, and she's a social worker now.
Oh,
and
wow.
She's working with people coming out of the prison systems. And
Okay,
so
fantastic.
proud of her. Yeah.
That's great. Did it take a long time for her to do that?
I think so. I think for anyone having a child that young, it's
The challenges.
I'm her priority, and she didn't get a lot of time to focus on herself, which I don't think I ever appreciated enough until I had my own daughter.
That's right. I was just
Super
going to
young.
say, history
Yeah.
repeating itself in some regard. Obviously, you weren't at school.
No.
You graduated from school. You were out in the world. What I wanted to say was, you didn't. Okay. But it did repeat itself completely. So you were very, what's the word? You were quick to grow up yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Having
Precocious is the word I was
such
looking
young
for.
parents,
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I just came out this stubborn child who I was very self-entitled in a way, which I think turned out to be a really good thing for me. I've just stood up for myself and knew what I wanted, and maybe parented my parents a bit.
You did?
Yeah. So I definitely grew up.
And how old were you when you sort of realised that this was the dynamic? I mean, was it from very, very young?
I think so. Well,
Were you mature
hard to tell.
early?
yeah. I think I've maybe gone reversed since having my daughter and become a little bit more immature because
You didn't have. Did you feel that you missed out on your own adolescence or childhood, having become a mum so young?
No.
So
Not
you had
because of
fun.
her. Yeah.
It didn't stop you.
No.
Okay. How did you meet your?
She's made me more fun.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the idea that kids make you better at not just being, but better at your job and what you do. Is that the case for you?
100%. She's my drive for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have had the drive I have now if it went for her.
You were already working. Did you have a job?
Yeah, I mean, I was modeling before I had her. Took time off.
How old were you when you had your daughter?
I was 20. She was due on my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the 1st of December, and she arrived on the 2nd.
What does that make you zodiacally?
Sagittarius.
Fantastic.
So we can't sit still.
You can't. I know. You got a lot of energy, and you're fiery. I married a Sagittarian, and all my really best friends. Yeah, 2 fire signs. The sparks do fly.
Yeah.
And they're very know-it-all, Saggies, I think.
No.
And for a Leo, obviously, there's going to be some tension in that because we're the centre of the universe, but you know it all. So there's a bit of a...
I'm the centre of the universe.
You do. So you were pretty growing up.
Pretty?
Yes, you were a pretty child. You were a pretty child. The idea is that
no.
You were seen differently from an early childhood stage.
In terms of modelling? Going into
modeling, pre-modelling. Or, just growing up.
No, I was a lanky weirdo. I had a hard time at school. Skeletor. I was called Ollie the Ostrich. Mm-hmm. I was a weird-looking kid.
Because you were too tall for your peers.
It took a while to grow into it.
And you, how old were you when you were that tall? Are we talking about going into teenage years?
I think before that I was always very weirdly tall and lanky.
Did you think you were pretty or beautiful?
No. I still struggle with it now. Seeing that. I've never really thought of myself in that way in terms of modelling. I've always seen modelling as I'm good at it because I like acting, I like creating a character, and I've never seen it as I'm pretty, I should be doing this.
Okay.
I get the elements of that.
Mm-hmm. So it's a personality thing rather than anything else? It's your desire to have fun.
That's what I love about
and
the
industry.
Play. Yeah. If I didn't have the opportunity to do that in this industry and I was purely commercial and boom, 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 I would go crazy. I couldn't do it.
So tell me how you got to be at such a young age, and I'm very jealous because I'd like to do this. I'm trying to do it now. Is how did you end up or start being a TV presenter? I guess it was children's TV, was it?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't children's television.
You know what?
You were 14,
when
right?
I actually started working for that company when I was about 12 or 13.
That's illegal. It should
I look like I was like 30 when I was like 13. I thought I just wanted to grow up super quick. My mum was super sexy, and I would like cover myself in fake tan, and I'd like put on like 2 bras to like make my boobs look bigger, and I thought it was So your mum was a sort of template ton of makeup,
a model for what sexy and beautiful was.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I think a lot of teenagers and kids just feel that way. We're all in a hurry to grow up, and then you hit your 20s and you're like, no.
Right, slow down. So were you precocious and active in dating and boys? Did that come early as well?
Yeah.
It did. Was that the culture that you grew up in? Was everyone at it? Were you all at it from a sort of young age?
Perhaps we're a little bored in New Zealand maybe at times. Yeah.
Right. But was it fun? Was it an idyllic adolescence, or were there challenges?
In my personal life, there were definitely challenges. It's definitely an idyllic place to grow up. Mm-hmm. I went to a Rudolf Steiner school.
Oh, wow. So you were all running wild?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the most beautiful country, I think.
Yeah. So you were in nature.
Super lucky. Being
natural in nature. And are Steiner/Waldorf kids a bit odd?
Oh, yeah. I left when I was... maybe I was 11 or maybe 11 I left. Mm-hmm. But I grew up in every single class, the same group of 30 children for every subject, right through
all
kindergarten
ages.
until...
All ages together?
No, we were all in the same kind of year gap. But it was pretty amazing. We all got super close. They're like family, you know?
Uh-huh. And so go back to the story about how the company that you first worked for, where you were a presenter. Who was it? Tell me the story.
So my mother's ex-fiance, actually. owns this company in New Zealand that brings products from America, like as seen on TV products from America to New Zealand. And he had a product that was a bronzer, and I used to go into malls and do demonstrations and sell it. So I'd learn scripts and try it on people, and I thought I wanted to get into makeup, and I really loved it.
So there was no thought at the time that 12 was a bit young. You carried it off because you looked older, but you were still a child, sort of, or were you not?
Not really.
Not really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Wow. So how old do you think of yourself as? In your
Now?
in your mind. Because in my mind, I probably am about 17 or something.
Yeah. Okay. As I said before, I think I've like reversed. I think I was super mature when I was in my teens, and now that I have a child, I'm like a bit of a kid again.
Right.
Some days at work, I feel like I'm 100 years old. Like yesterday, I was shooting with a bunch of high school students.
Wow.
And
you're not.
And I'm not.
But you acted young.
Yeah, and I can still act young. I go and my favorite place to work is actually Japan.
Oh wow!
And I think
you look like you're built for Japan because you've got prettiness written all over you, right?
Big eyes.
The big eyes, yes, the alien.
I love it. I love the whole like kawaii.
Yes.
I love playing into that character. I love it so much.
How long did you go to Japan for?
I go back and forth all the time.
Oh,
The client brings me over a few times a year, and I love it.
So how did you get first spotted? How did you start in this business?
Well, I got scouted by doing the demonstrations. I was at the makeup demonstration. So I'd go to malls, and there was this one event one day, and someone came and scouted me. And then from there, I signed with that agency. And then like a week later, IMG came scouting in New Zealand, and they asked if I wanted to go to Paris. And I was like, yeah.
And you were 12?
No. This is when I was about 17. I'd been from the makeup demonstrations, started doing presenting on TV, selling his products.
Okay.
And then was in high school and doing that. And I moved out of home when I was about, I think it was 14.
You moved out of home at 14?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And had some awesome flatmates that were in their 20s and law students, and they were like my
aren't there
big
laws
brothers.
governing that? You would have thought there were, that you couldn't go and do that at 14.
I did.
You broke the laws. You did, didn't you? You did.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so impressed how you managed to do that, how you had the guts to live sort of independently at such a
I
age.
just wanted it so bad.
You didn't feel at risk, you didn't feel vulnerable, were there dodgy guys trying to pick up a 14, 12, 13, 14-year-old?
No, I mean, I'm still in my home city. It's very small. It's a very small place. So I still had, I'd still see my grandparents regularly, and my mother was living on Waiheke Island.
Oh, wow.
Have you heard of that?
No, is that New Zealand?
Yeah. 30-minute boat ride out of Auckland, and it's the most beautiful place ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What was she doing out there? She went for the nature?
Just living there, and she, I have a 9-year-old half-sister now as well. So she was doing that.
Having another family? Was that why? I'm intuiting that maybe that was the reason why you wanted to get out and start getting out into the world.
Yeah, but let's not talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me then, you started at 17 modelling, and is it something that you took to immediately and were obviously good at? And what did you weren't good at it?
No. I think I was not good at runway. I went straight into couture. My first trip to Paris was straight into castings for that and walking down runways and huge high heels and long trains.
How long after IMG signed you were you thrust into that?
A couple of 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hadn't really walked in high heels before, or didn't really know what I was doing, and fell down runways. And I think it took its time for me to
get into the groove.
Yeah.
But obviously the presenting had given you a sense of confidence and ease in front of the camera.
Fake confidence. It taught me how to fake confidence.
And how do you do that?
I don't know. It's just that going into a character. You go to work and you're with a whole group of new people that you need to impress, and there are people touching you all day, and you have moments where you're getting frustrated and you have no control over your schedule. So some days you're in a terrible mood and you can't be.
Right.
So you
Is
have
that
a
just
character
the
that
politics
you just...
of being a human being in the world? That you have to do
Probably.
things that you don't want to do and have to put in a face sometimes,
Yeah,
not to betray your truth.
No, well, absolutely.
Right, because social nicety depends on it.
We all have that character.
So you were just shrewd, and you knew all this sort of because you were practicing it from an early age, maybe.
Maybe.
I
don't know if I pulled off not being self-conscious all the time, but I tried to.
Right. And are you naturally an extrovert? Would you consider yourself such?
I don't think so. I think I've warmed up to it.
Okay.
I used to be very shy. It was very difficult for me.
But you did the presenting at 12.
That was, you know what, that's a funny thing. I struggled with reading. So for our live TV shows we would do, I'd have to memorize these 10-minute long scripts because I couldn't read the teleprompter. And I would be fine in those settings where it was cameras and not a bunch of people. And then I'd go in for like an exam in school and have to do a speech of my poem in front of my class full of 20 kids, and I would be shaking and like red in the face and about to vomit. And it was just
a different
thing. It's a different thing. It's that character. It's getting to I don't think of, my brand as a model isn't who I am as a person.
What is your brand as a model? How would you define that?
I don't even know.
No, but try. What are you booked for? What are you kind of pre-Raphaelite, sort of classically Celtic-looking, Anglo-Saxon?
I would like to just be seen as
what do you
a
bring?
Blank canvas that can transform into anything. That's how I've always kind of seen myself, as someone that can transform into characters. And
the actor.
Yeah. Whereas, so sometimes I'll go into castings and I'll just feel so bland compared to other girls. The girls that have very specific looks that are amazing and striking to someone, maybe it takes a little bit more of an imagination for people to see me as a model. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, there's that way of looking at it. There's also the blank canvas and the personality thing that can come out, which to some extent is more important sometimes.
At times, yeah, but first impression makes things more difficult, I think, sometimes.
So with that mindset, isn't it a bit harrowing going into castings?
Yeah, of
where
course
you're
it
constantly having to compare yourself with the competition.
No, you don't have to compare yourself.
Do you?
At times, absolutely. I think it's hard not to when you're doing this job every day. I know in my brain that I can't.
Are you competitive by nature? You are, because you're a Sagittarian.
Yeah, of course I am.
You're built to fight and action and
I'm really competitive. I'm terrible at every single game, and I get really feisty and throw tantrums.
My wife is the worst winner because she's very, very smug. She makes you feel bad, right? That's not a good trait. But I love her in all sorts of other ways.
There you go.
But I don't play Scrabble with her or any other game for that matter.
I wouldn't do sports with me.
So is that a stick to beat yourself with? Because you're so goal orientated, as Anne-Marie is, my wife, that there's so much bound up in the winning and achieving the goal that if you don't and you fall short in any way, shape or form, there's a price to pay. There's quite a heavy price to pay for that. I mean...
What a question!
In other words, it could get you down.
Yeah, of course.
And how do you cope with that? How do you cope with not getting the job and not attaining the goal when daily the job is about getting the goal? I mean, it's great for a Sagittarian in that regard.
You know what? I just have a kind of different mindset on that stuff than I did when I was a teenager. I used to take things very personally.
Let me just turn the camera around a little bit because I want to get more of you.
Oh, I keep leaning back.
I know, and
Sorry.
me too.
I like to move
seeing.
around. I used to take things so personally. And I think since having my daughter and just in terms of my body, having to give it over to someone else, that was her body when I was pregnant. And
Oh, yeah.
it created a different mindset. And going back to modeling, I was, after having her and becoming a single mother.
Were you not a single mother before you had her?
No.
So you're
I was engaged.
You didn't go through with it?
No.
You didn't get to the altar?
No.
Is that a good thing? You got off easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Sorry, John. Great dad.
Great dad.
He's a great dad now.
That's great. So your daughter...
Terrible partner, but that's okay.
Well, a makeup artist... No, he's not a makeup artist. He's a hairstylist that I worked with. I'm going to call his name. Kevin Ryan. Very wise man.
Mm.
Told me once when Anne-Marie was pregnant and we were expecting Tallulah, my daughter, who's now 9, he said, well, the thing about parenting is that you're together as a couple, right? And then having a child, you become this company. You set about creating this entity, and you don't know if you're going to be good work partners together.
That's so true.
In the LLC, that is the Sanders Family Inc., looking after your daughter Tallulah or whoever, you don't know whether you're going to work well in that capacity. And I think he was right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'd hope that because it's a different thing. That's all I'm saying. I've spoken to people, because obviously Tallulah's an only child, so we didn't have any other kids. But when I was polling the mums in the playground, as I did, there was also a sense that having a second child, again, shuffles up that dynamic. And so, 2 kids is not the same again as 1 kid.
Yeah, I imagine.
And you're constantly having to sort of re-establish the rules of the company.
Yeah.
So thanks, Kevin Ryan.
Yeah,
clever. He had 3. I think he had 3 daughters. I'm not sure. He has 3 kids anyway. So he was an expert.
So he's
by
done
that
his
time.
homework.
He did it all. Yes, he was speaking really from experience.
Wow.
So how do you negotiate having your daughter and then going for ghosting? Do you have full-time help? Is she at school? How old is she?
This is quite a story.
Yes, of course.
She is 6.
Okay, good age. Difficult age.
Great age.
But a difficult age, I'd say. I thought 4 was because of this. Kindergarten, 5. That's challenging because they go from, complete free-form lifestyle to the institution of school. And then they're trying out all sorts of things that they might learn from their peer group and stuff. And all sorts of other behavior that you weren't privy to formally starts coming in.
Yeah,
so
the children's behavior.
The children's behavior. So I thought 5 was difficult, 6 was difficult, and then there was a turning point at 7. Now they say 7 is the age of reason. I don't think so. I think it's more like 11.
Yeah.
Myself. But there's that sort of, you start to see an improvement, and then now by 9 it's a real golden age pre-tweendom.
Oh, I'm excited.
I know, where there's it's a latency period, I believe, as Freud called it. So it's pre-tween hormonal sexuality.
Fun.
And they're fairly rational and quite a joy to be with. They start to be funny and all those other things, aware of society. So I'm having a great time. So it gets better, is what I will say. You've got that to look forward to.
I've been happy with every stage. 6, she's so funny. She's the funniest thing ever.
Well, you know what I think? I thought, for me personally, the peak of cuteness was 2.5. And that was because they're semi-verbal, right? And they'll never be semi-verbal again. You're just semi-verbal for that 6 months, a year or whatever. And that's the cutest. And for the same reason you say 6 and 7, I like these transition periods where they're going from one stage to another.
Yeah.
So at 6, in many ways, they're super sophisticated little girls. But really, they are babies.
Yeah.
And now looking at the kindergartners in the hallway at my daughter's school, they look like they're babies and too young to go to school. So it's a funny old thing, but it is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Do you feel like me that it is essentially the meaning of life?
Yeah.
And that people who don't experience this in some way will not experience the true, fullest capacity of loving?
Absolutely. I never imagined feeling anything like that.
You think you love your partner, right?
Daily.
But you don't.
No.
Yeah, well, you might. You might to a degree, but when you've experienced that the pure unconditional love that you have for another being that is your own or not your own, but that said, oh, what's going on? Low battery. I'm going to have to plug you in. I'm plugging you in. No, I've got...
Oh, no.
I've got this. I'm going to plug this in.
Oh, no.
We haven't been paying attention, and this is the trouble with with the live thing and the interview thing. I think we should do some of that. Although,
how does this work?
Well, can you see it? I can't read, but if you can read, what would be nice, the whole point about live is that it's interactive, right? Yeah. And there's an audience and we're in it together, and that people can ask questions and you can, reply and...
I wish I could read Japanese.
Is it coming from Japan? These are your Japanese friends?
A lot of it.
Are you big in Japan? No, I mean, the Japanese are world-renowned for their fandom. Do European models that go to Japan have loads of Japanese girl fans?
The most lovely, the sweetest, kindest messages I get from people are from the Japanese that send me gorgeous emails on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
That's great. And you don't get that anywhere else, right? You certainly don't get that in Paris.
No, you get some weird stuff from other places.
How important is Instagram and social media to you? Or any model? Is this really where it's at now?
I mean, it's huge now. It's taken me a while to get my head around it because, to be honest, it's not authentic to me to sit down at work and be taking photographs of myself. That was always someone else's job to do.
Yes.
And it always seemed unprofessional to me to be playing with your cell phone at work, which I still struggle with now. I really struggle to be taking photos of myself on jobs for behind the scenes.
Right.
Which you might notice I don't do a lot of. I still struggle with it, but I understand.
Is it allowed
that
now,
it's
though?
the industry now.
Is it not frowned upon, though, now?
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's really important.
So that etiquette hasn't been fully established?
No, I don't believe so.
It's being worked out now, probably.
I mean, we all have to communicate these things, but a lot of clients count on that for their advertising. They choose girls based on their following.
Yes.
So I need to start working on that and find out the algorithms of,
And the algorithms are changing.
Yeah.
Well, I know where the algorithms are, actually. It's in live.
Go on.
It's in the live thing. And it's in Facebook Live and it's in stories, right?
Yeah.
Apparently there are people who don't even go on the normal pictures anymore. They don't even look at it. They're straight into stories and they live in stories.
I just feel like at times my life is too boring to be streaming videos. I'll be like in bed with her, reading her a bedtime story, and I'd be like, hey, Jodie. This is actually really cool.
It is good, isn't it? And look, hearts stream, and it's great. Yeah, so is there a goal? As you're so goal-orientated, is there a number that you want to reach? Will you feel better at 100,000? I mean...
I don't.
When do clients book you for your following? Does it have to be millions like Kendall bloody flipping Jenner? Which is...
I honestly, I don't know. And as I was saying, it's just unauthentic to me to do it. So I think about it at times and then I forget about it. So sometimes I will post things, like a few things in a week, and other times I'll just forget. I'm not
Olivia,
I know.
Consistency is key, I'm told. I'm going to just close the door because we got a creaky door going. Bear with me.
No worries.
See, this proper camera can be edited afterwards.
Okay.
But I don't even like having to do that. It's another step for the quality. I'd rather it all be live.
Yeah.
But this can then be, at some point, 4K, and then you just press the button, and then it's done, and you upload it, and there's no faffing around afterwards. But this is a transitionary time, and we're on the cutting edge. I think probably at some point all castings will be this way. I mean, I'm assuming.
So much pressure.
But I think but everyone will be so used to it by then.
Yeah.
I mean, again, after thousands of selfies, it comes more naturally, right?
Yeah. Well, not to me.
Not to you.
As I was saying before, I was with my agent and we were trying to do a selfie together and it was all like just double chins.
Right. So what is the plan now? What do you think you would want to be doing if the phone rang and you had your ideal photographer or magazine or editor to work with on the other line? What would it be?
Oh,
In your big dreams?
what a full-on question.
Yes. Who would it be? If you could only be... Okay, desert island sort of question. If it could only be one photographer... I've just killed your career for 99% of the other photographers.
Don't!
No, it's fair enough. Legends have special categories for them, and we don't begrudge legends. Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Stephen Meisel.
Okay, yeah.
That's it. It's funny how it really does begin and end with Stephen.
It does.
And even as another photographer, I acknowledge that with great magnanimity. that he is such a towering figure.
I love...
And he's going to give you different things every issue of Italian Vogue. So you're
and just
sorted.
teach you so much.
Oh my God.
Is all I hear from...
The school of Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, it must feel so good to be loved by the ultimate lover of models who knows so much. He's seen so many, and that you are now the center of his gaze and focus. I mean, how could you not be good?
Yeah, it wouldn't be shit to work with him.
Anyone else? Any other names? While we're at it?
Yeah, someone I love is Paolo Reversi.
Oh yeah,
So
you're a
beautiful.
total Paolo
I
girl.
love...
We could just strip you naked right now and get out the 10.8 camera and record your nudity.
I love how you say nudity. Nudity.
Paolo has a big old camera, and that was back in the day. It's probably not. It's not the case anymore.
I love that ethereal.
Yeah, yes, and there's certain elements of Cecilia Chancellor in you. You know who that is, don't you? She was a very late 80s, early 90s model who was sort of quintessentially English. I'll turn you on to Cecilia.
Terrible with names, good with faces.
She's great. She was wonderful. And I think he must have photographed her a lot. And
So I channel her.
Yes, and Kirsten Owen, do you know who that is? No, you don't. So where did
We should stop this, it's going to be embarrassing.
No, but it's fair enough. It's a youthful business. And, you know, everyone's a new generation.
I'm also just not so in the know when it comes to the fashion
Does it
industry.
matter?
I think to a certain extent it does. One of my first photo shoots was for Teen Vogue. This is really embarrassing. I'm going to say it anyway. One of my first photo shoots was for Teen Vogue. It was shot in Paris, and we were shooting with Jean-Paul Gaultier. And I had no idea who he was.
Okay.
No idea.
But isn't there a certain ignorance and bliss in that there's less pressure that way? You just do the job and you're not overawed by the magnificence or the terror that is the pressure.
Totally. But it's also, the agency was like, you need to go and study a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Your fashion history?
Just a little bit.
Do you have a favourite designer?
Oh,
yeah.
That's another tough question.
Okay, which show then tomorrow?
I love Chloe.
Okay, you look like a Chloe girl. That seems appropriate.
I love that vibe. I love that 70s.
Mm-hmm. Chloe is
Givenchy's beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Valentino, so elegant and like
inexpensive. Yeah, different world, isn't it? Are you a catwalk model? Do you do the rounds of Milan, New York, Paris, London?
I have done shows when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I've not in a while.
Was the couture a highlight, doing that at the beginning, or were you too young to really fully appreciate it?
I would have been too young to appreciate it, really. I think so. I plan on going back and doing shows.
Yes.
I've just changed my hair colour and...
You're a redhead, naturally. Auburn. Irish classic.
I'm an Irish blonde.
A black Irish? You know the black Irish, they've got blue eyes, but they've got the raven dark hair. You're not
No,
raven, though.
I've always been blonde.
Oh, you were blonde? You've got brown eyes? Oh, they dye the eyebrows as well?
I've always had darker eyebrows.
Oh, okay.
Dark leg hair.
Right, that needs shaving constantly, shearing off.
Always had, go out into the sun and it like brightens up, but it always
Do you burn?
pulls.
Do you burn?
I think I just reflect the light.
You know, white skin is a positive adaptation for northerners to absorb more of the sun's rays.
Mm.
So it's not like a defect. It's not like,
I've never thought of myself as defected. I like my parents.
It's not a defect. It's a positive, active thing. So you're basically designed to absorb as much light as possible because there's less of it up
That's why
there.
I'm so happy all the time.
That's right, exactly. Booze does that as well for the English and the Irish.
Makes me depressed. I'm very prone to
Well,
depression, so I have to be careful
It is
with
a depressant.
Yeah.
It's a depressant. For sure.
Yeah.
I never did myself.
Never did what?
Either drink or drugs.
Wow.
Yep. I'm a drugs virgin.
Nice.
Well, I did it once when I was 16 and never again.
I'm not interested in any of that.
Is it still pervasive? It is in culture, it is in society. So I'm assuming, I came of age as a photographer in the heroin chic days.
Of course.
I never came to New York
So cool.
at that time to really experience that milieu. But it was definitely around.
Yeah.
With models being completely strung out and having to go to the toilet and all that stuff. I'm glad that's over now. But I guess there's still loads of drugs out there. And I worry about my daughter coming into that age of teenage. How did you survive your teenage years?
I grew up...
Do you have any advice for a father of a teenage girl? Put it that way. How am I going to keep Tallulah safe? What would you have liked in a father figure? Because, as the father figure I represent the person that she will react against.
Oh my gosh, that's such a huge question, and I still wonder that. I grew
Everyone's
up in
different.
something. I grew up in something very different to most people, and I grew up seeing a lot of drug use and negative effects of that, and
that saved you from the same.
And it saved me because some people turn into their parents.
Yep.
And other people see things that they don't want, and they have a strong belief in themselves, and they want better for themselves. And that was me. And I was always very stubborn on that. I knew I was susceptible to addictions. Mm-hmm. I knew I could fall into anything. I smoked since I was 12,
Cigarettes.
And quitting cigarettes was a very hard thing for me.
You did it?
Yeah. Still, if I'm having a drink and I'm out around people, I'm like, nom, 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 nom. But I have a daughter now, and I don't want her to see that. You don't know if they're going to be curious about the things you've been doing
as the role
and
model.
Need to try.
Yes.
Or go, oh, gross. I never want to do that.
Well, I'm hoping in my case it will be, well, Daddy never did it.
I think you've got to educate them about it.
Yeah.
And
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of lying going on? They always do, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I know.
It really, so I knew that was part of the industry, and I was 17, I went over, I would never go out, I would go and do my castings, go to my jobs, come home, be by myself at the time. I was a total loner, I still am at times, I need my
space.
My alone time. I struggle to be an evening social person.
Yeah, it's not natural for you?
No, at work, I love it, I thrive off it, but at nighttime and social, it's not my thing.
Is that because small talk is difficult? I've been the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that.
I don't like that unauthentic stuff.
But it's so important in terms of developing your career.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Stephen Meisel again. He was famous in an article I read. He said he would go out every night in the 80s, all night, every night, for years. 2 or 3 different places every night. It was New York then, there was a lot to do. And you think about all the people that you meet along the way, and and the connections that you make, and if it's all about who you know at the end of the day, because it's a people business.
It is.
It serves you well.
Yeah.
And if you're not naturally social, you either have to be a great nerd and a genius and be so talented that somehow you transcend. And I don't even think that's possible. I think at the end of the day, you have to develop a sense of politics and people skills.
And I think for this industry, you have to see it that way a little bit and look at it as work sometimes, and just important for your career, and go out and it's that same energy as you would get from going to work.
Exactly, that's right. What about let's talk about your love life and the kind of guys that you like, and do you have types that you like and all of that stuff? I
don't have a type at all. I think all.
What do you find attractive in the opposite sex?
Funny. It has to be very funny.
Okay. Is that top of the? Is funny over looks?
I don't think I've ever run after looks.
First impressions. First impressions don't count.
Yeah, of course, to a certain extent, there's attraction, but attraction's not always. I don't think I've always necessarily dated people that would be conventionally attractive. Mm-hmm. But I found something attractive about them. Mm-hmm.
So what are you looking for now? Do you need a father figure?
I'm not looking for anything now.
For your daughter?
No, she has a father. He wasn't around in the beginning. I raised her over here alone.
Okay.
He's back in the picture now.
Okay, great. In New York?
No, in New Zealand. He lives in New Zealand. Uh-huh. So we moved back there about 2 years ago.
You live in New Zealand again?
I commute all over the world.
That's not round the corner.
Time. No, it's not. Wild. It's a really long commute. So I'm just in a constant state of jet lag. And I have great miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you do Japan as well, which is easier.
I do Japan, I do Europe, I do here. I'm going to try and split my time between New Zealand and New York.
Do you have a preference if you had to pick the one?
I think, obviously, for work and industry, here is best for me now. I can't do my job in New Zealand. It's very small. And I have a short window to get what I want out of this industry. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but I haven't got there yet.
Is it money? Is it financial stability? Is it security?
There's an element of that.
Isn't it the element? Isn't it the job?
Yeah, but it can't be purely that. I mean, I want to get into acting.
Okay. You could do that anyway.
That's a big goal for me.
You can do that anyway, right?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't explored that both in New Zealand and in the various territories and countries that you live in.
I've the last 6 years been focusing on being a single mother, supporting a child and going to work and doing my commercial jobs. And now there are two of us, and I can do the commute and I can have the time on my own to focus on it. And
from cinema and telly.
Well, yeah, but you know what? I want to go back and I want to get back into doing fun editorials and building more of a name for myself and getting to play characters. And I want to start studying acting and actually get some experience. Are
you a model first and an actor second? Or what do you think you really are? I mean, I don't know what I am. I don't know if I'm a photographer first.
I'm a mother first.
I'm not a father. Are we fathers and mothers first?
Yeah, because I think you go into work. I think your energy for work comes from them. I don't think I would have the drive for this job if it weren't for her.
You would still be modeling if it wasn't for your daughter.
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh wow. That's not obvious.
I took a break from modeling when I had her, and I didn't enjoy it then. I saw it totally different. It was a totally different thing in my mind.
You didn't enjoy modeling?
No. It wasn't until I came back and I was in my 20s, 21, and I had a different view on it, and I got back into it, and I started really enjoying it.
That's interesting. I want to know though what it was about modeling then that you didn't enjoy. What were the downsides for you? What were the negatives?
I was still a kid. I was a teenager, and I'd grown up really fast, and my confidence was fake and I didn't really know myself. You're 17, your body is changing, your whole world is about your image, and that's your self-worth. This job is 24/7. There's no breaks from it. You're living it. You've got to, it's what you're eating. It's
The whole
it's
thing.
your body and your mind. It's you. So it was just too much for me at that point.
Was it an identity crisis? In other words,
It
questioning
gave me one,
who am I? Is that because of the fact that the job itself involves adults projecting their own needs and desires onto a young
and
girl?
A young perfectionist who wants to please people? It wasn't healthy for me at that time.
But the people-pleasing aspect that I have too is useful.
When you understand it.
Yes, exactly. Insofar as it is a service industry and we are working for others, we are in service to our clients. Do you want to have a read? It looks like the same set. But the hearts keep coming, and so I'm happy.
Love hearts.
Yes. Okay, so do you think acting will be... It's really hot for you guys. I know, I'm kind of used to it. My Jamaican genes kick in at this point, and I'm able to deal with the heat.
Oh, give me some of that.
I know. Again, you're built for the winds of Ireland. The wind and the rain.
I love the rain.
So
I'm at home in the rain.
What else do we have to... Oh, let me ask you about what you're wearing. What are you wearing today, Olivia?
I'm wearing something I picked up from a vintage store here.
Okay.
I do a lot of...
Vintage shopping.
Yeah.
And that serves its purpose rather nicely as a sundress on a very hot day.
Yeah. And as we were saying before, it's darkly coloured, so you can't see my
So
boob sweat and my underarm sweat and all the sweat that's happening.
And it's faintly hippie-ish, Chloe-like.
Yeah.
Which is you.
I love that. I don't think I have one specific kind of genre or style that I go to, but I'm in those different countries and markets where Japan is very cute and pretty, and I love dressing into that and playing into that. I love it. Secondhand stores there as well. I'm always into. And here for work, I have my standard model uniform, and Paris as well. It's
black.
keeping things black
And simple.
black and white and simple and fitted.
So what's the fun element now? What are you enjoying that you obviously you didn't like all of that other stuff, but what's the best part of the day now? What is the crux of the joy?
I love creating with people.
Is it the communication? Or
Is it
the shooting? Because I like the moment, I've had a bit of a think about this, I like the moment just before shooting when everyone in the team is so focused on you. So, the shoes are going on and the nails are being finessed and the hair and makeup. And there's that sort of intense focus of love onto a human being in anticipation of something beautiful happening, right?
Yeah.
And I just like that quiet before the storm, that very focused little moment before it all happens. I think that's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
Because the devotion that people are putting, it's just the energy,
Absolutely,
focused energy. It's that focused energy that I think is moving. And lunch? You like lunch?
I love lunch. Sure do.
What's your favourite meal? Is there such a thing as Auckland fare? What's the typical New Zealand? Tell me the New Zealand
Typical
dish.
New Zealand food. We're based off English, right?
But not Australia. So in England, we do not have barbies.
Oh, okay. Well, we do the barbie. We're Australian, English, mashed potatoes and sausages.
Roast beef Sunday dinners?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
roast chicken and potatoes?
Roasts were always a big part of my growing up.
Did your grandparents, were they from Ireland?
So my grandfather. The rest
Okay.
of my family's Dutch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
From my father's side.
But the
and
O'Driscoll
my
had...
mother's mother.
Your
My
mother's mother.
O'Driscoll was my grandfather. It was
Yes.
very important to me that my daughter carry on his name because he's passed away now.
Oh. He was strong, man, because those genes came strongly through you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're Irish before you're Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of fashion photographers, and I have a theory that a lot of them, I don't know if I've said this in another interview, have father issues. To the extent that photographers are saying, look at me. I mean, there's a byline in a magazine. So you're publicly saying, hey, Dad, I have something special, which is my vision of the world.
Yeah.
And in terms of fashion photographers, you get rewarded for it. Plus, on a very Oedipal Greek psychosexual level, you're the photographer whose job is with the most beautiful fecund of the species. And you have not control, but you're the king. So in a way, it's saying
king of the castle, do this, do that,
do this, do that, do this, do that, and therefore it's challenging the father and saying, I win. But also look at me and look at me for approval, right?
Yeah.
Look how well I did. Look, I won. It's a theory I have.
I get it. I really get it. Yeah.
But tell me about are there any other psychological theories of being the woman? Is it just being desired and the object of desire? And feeling powerful? Because for me, the power lies equally, if not more so, with the model. In other words, it's she at the end of the day who has the power to give and the power to receive and live and die.
Absolutely.
The picture lives and dies by her, her whim.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one.
It really
as well.
does.
What kind of what kind of photographers do you like to work with best? What's the photographer style that you thrive in?
I love photographers who can let you move freely and explore things. I've always seen going through those movements, you have to explore moments of ugliness and be completely carefree and not think about being sexy or being beautiful, or I think that's when you get the best images. Wow,
that's really wise.
I've seen I actually love to just not look at the screen. After we've done a shot, we go through and look at, we have digital now and you can do that.
We do.
I sometimes prefer to not.
Right.
Because there will be a lot of images where I'm like...
Yes, exactly. And you're so hypercritical.
Sometimes you just don't need to see that. And then you just see there's one magic image.
But in the freedom that you've been allowed to explore, to get through all of the gurning to the perfection, is what you appreciate.
Yeah.
Someone who allows you to be fully you and gives you the safe space to do that.
Yeah, and I think also, I think there are elements sometimes when there's a bit of tension with the photographer, even sometimes can create something great too, Yes. Sometimes some photographers will be very direct and place you, and it's
you don't like that. You don't like being manipulated in that sense?
Sometimes.
Depends who's doing the manipulation.
It really depends. Yeah,
right.
Really
and
depends.
And to what end?
Yeah.
Right? You'd let Stephen do that all day, every day for the rest of your life. He's so good. But I haven't been on any of his shoots, but I would like to imagine anyway, that he is honouring the beauty of the girl. So, although he's very controlling as well. So there's that fine line, I think, with life and everything, is that finding the balance between intention and freedom.
Yeah.
And knowing and having a sense of what's right and what's wrong, bodies in space and stuff.
Yeah.
And then not being aware because, it's all great and mysterious.
Yeah, you just got to trust each other.
If you weren't doing this job, what would you be doing? If you hadn't been approached. If you hadn't been approached. Let's not go there because you don't have to.
I
You're
don't have to.
living
That's what I'm
you're
doing.
living
That's
it.
what I'm doing.
Yeah. And you're good at this.
Yeah.
What makes you so good? What do you bring to, what are your special qualities?
I like it.
Yeah. But you didn't before, but you were good then, right?
Not always. Not necessarily. I
Do you-
told you I fell down many a runway.
Do you have to like it to be a good model? Can you get away with it? Not really totally right.
I think you can fake it and get away with it for a certain amount of time, but I think I've been a model who's had longevity. I may not have reached grand proportions yet, but I've had a long career and been successful in financially and in my own way.
Right.
You know?
So job done?
No,
When will it be done? Do you know?
I don't know.
You're going with the flow?
Yeah.
And along for the ride. And as long as it's satisfying.
I mean, you have to. There's no control in this job at all.
And you'll be happy when your daughter comes as a teenager and says, I'm going to be a model.
No, she's not modeling. She doesn't want to right now. She gets asked about it a lot because I'll bring her to set with
She's
me a lot of
pretty.
the time. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
She looks nothing like me.
Is she like her dad?
She you know,
She's
she
her
has
own
my
person.
expressions and
Yeah.
she has my face shape and things now. When she was born, she looked exactly like her father.
You were telling me about the most important piece of advice that you'd be able to give someone who was thinking about being a model. Or you were thinking about that.
The
or you started
most
talking
important thing, I don't think I could even say that, but it's one of the things that I enjoy the most in this industry is being able to help the younger girls and boys.
I remember you were saying agents don't teach you how to be models.
No, they can, I mean, there's only a certain amount they can do. They're busy booking and they have super high pressure jobs and it's, I don't believe that that's actually their role. Elements.
You didn't have any bookers that sort of provided that?
I have. I've been very lucky and I got my mother agent. I made him my mother agent when I came back to modeling. After my daughter. He's a man.
Yeah.
He's my gagent.
He is your agent.
He is one of my best friends and I can call him all the time. I speak to him every single day.
Okay.
And
That's an important part.
that's rare, I would imagine.
How do you best... Is that just fate? Because that's out of your hands.
I've always been very lucky with these things. My mum took her time to come into her own as a mother and she's doing a great job of that now for my sister. But I didn't always have that and I've always had these amazing people come into my life.
To look
And
after.
the points, yeah. Life's kind of amazing
That's
like
good.
that.
I always say to models that the basics that they should know is that the job involves a willingness to give.
Yeah.
And that's really, it boils down to that.
Is that but for me, seeing young girls and boys who are being pushed back in life sometimes by taking things too personally, and understanding the basic dynamics of that, and I use this as an example all the time because it was so funny to me. I came back to modeling being very clear that I was strictly doing commercial and I would not be questioned about my weight because I'm a naturally thin girl and I'm super healthy and I exercise and I care about that stuff to a certain extent.
What does purely commercial mean? Define that term.
Not that I wouldn't be going out and doing shows and having to get down to a certain measurement and having to focus on that when I had a newborn child and that just couldn't be a priority for me. And during that time there was one day and it sticks out to me so much. I was cancelled from a job for being too thin and in the same day I went to go and do a fitting with a woman who was basically yelling at me because my ass was too fat to fit into her dress. And I'm like, well, that's the power. You can't win. There's no pleasing everyone. And you are what you are and you just try to be your best. And everyone wants different things for their brand.
Right.
You're not going to fit everyone.
And it's finding that.
Yeah.
But keeping the confidence that you need to be able to get up and do it every day.
Yeah,
Go out
absolutely. but I think it can break you if you don't have that perspective that it's
Are
it's
you
not personal.
Yeah. Are you stronger for having survived it or been the journey woman that you've been in the industry, that you've had this long career that's been satisfying financially, that you've won at the job?
I don't think I have yet.
But maybe not the grand plot. Isn't the doing it the winning? Or you're too focused on the goal again, the elusive goal, because there's always another one the next day. What's the goal then? Tell me. Is it this? Tell me then. So when do you think, or what would have to happen for you to say, I've attained the full fashion dream? What is it? Is it the cover of American Vogue?
That'd be nice.
Is it in advertising for, I don't know, Prada? I mean, what is it in your own mind? Or is it just more of the same? But
yeah, just growing, just
pushing forward.
Yeah, moving
New
up
vistas.
levels instead of staying stagnant. I never want to just be in that stagnant. If I get to that place, I'm done.
Growth.
That's for me. Yeah, it's just growth. I mean, it has to be always, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's where depression stems from. It's your own sense that you're not moving forward. You're not expanding as the universe is.
Yeah.
With it, along with it.
Absolutely. So.
Are we done? That was a long one. We could do this a lot more. It was a real pleasure.
Cheers.
It was amazing, Olivia. Such insight, and thank you for sharing so much of yourself.
Of course, I tend to do that. I'm very open.
As am I. But having said that, no, I guess it runs a gamut. But generally, generally, girls come in and they say they're a bit apprehensive and they go, I'm a bit shy, I don't know what I'm going to do, what's required of me, and all the rest of it.
Right.
And then when it actually happens, it being in the moment allows a kind of freedom, and everyone sort of surprises themselves.
Yeah.
I suppose. It's like, it's fun. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be doing it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. So thank you very much. I'm going to say goodbye.
I like this reality. It's great.
I like this reality.
Right.